Oh, 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 no.
I don't need negative energy, wrap me in positive synergy. I have been doubted through life, been there and done that with trifling people who told me my style would not work. I told them they wrong, been struggling too long. This song is for you, I'm proving you wrong.
Get out my way, get out my way, get out my way, get out my way.
I'm a genuine person. Like if I love you, I love you. If I don't mess with you, I don't mess with you. It's as simple as that.
This is a missing one time exclusive. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. If you got a big one, let me search it to find out how hard I gotta work yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. I like to get to know ya so I can show ya. Put a hurting on ya like I told ya. Give me all your numbers so I can phone ya. The girl act the snake, then call me over. Not on the bed, lay me on your sofa. Call before you come, I need to shave my chop chop. You do or you don't, or you will, I won't chop. Go downtown and eat it like a vulture. See my hips, big hips, so chop. See my butts and my lips, don't chop. Lost a few pounds in my waist, oh yeah. It's the kind of beat that go ba-ta-ta. Ba-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Sex me so good, I say blah, blah, blah. Work it. I need a glass of water. Boy, yo, boy, it's good to know ya. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. If you got a big one, let me search it to find out how hard I gotta work yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. If you're a fly gal, get your nails done, get a pedicure, get your hair did. Boy, lift it up, let's make a toaster. Let's get drunk, this gon' bring us closer. Don't I look like a Holly Berry poster? See the Belvedere playing tricks on ya. Girlfriend wanna be like me, never. You won't find a trick that's even better. I'll make you hot as Las Vegas weather. Listen up close while I take it backwards. Okay, begins to listen me what you want. I'm not a prostitute, but I can give you what you want. I love your great. You love the way my butt boom, 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 boom. Keep your eyes on my boom, 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 boom. You think you can handle this? Don't. Take my thumb off and my tail go boom. Cut the lights on so you see what I can do. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. If you got a big one, let me search it to find out how hard I gotta work yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. Boys, all type of boys. Black, white, Puerto Rican, Chinese boys. Wine, Girls, get that cash. If it's 9 to 5 or shaking your ass, ain't no shame, ladies, do your thing. Just make sure you ahead of the game. You know, Missy still super duper, but Prince couldn't get me change my name, Papa. Hooter can't tell you slave again, no sign. Picture black saying, oh yes, I'm massa. Got a Lamborghini, so I drive faster, just to make your haters even freaking matter. Admit I'm the shit, ain't one no better. When I drop this record here, you won't even matter. Why you act dumb like dog? Say you act dumb like dog. As the drummer boy go bum. Give you some of this cinnamon. Is it worth it? Let me work it. I put my thing down, flip it and reverse it. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. If you got a big one, let me search it to find out how hard I gotta work yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. It's your primitive and fine yet. To the fellas.
Alexa, stop. What up, 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 y'all? What's going on? How are y'all doing on this beautiful Tuesday evening? Thank y'all for being here, man. Listen. We're gonna get into some things today, y'all. We're gonna ruffle some feathers, right? We're gonna make some people feel some type of way. All these people talking about Bonjean this and Bonjean that, and but hey, that's what we do. We get to the facts, right? We push all the fluff and all the bluff and all that stuff out the way, and we get straight down to what need to be talked about, okay? Let me see who up in here rocking with me on this evening. Who up in here? Black Diamond, how you doing, Queen? Thank you for coming in. I am a Queen Newton. Hello, how are you? Noonie, what's up, Noonie? How are you? You know what? Let me put the link in here because I'm gonna need some help from some of my amazing readers out there. I'm gonna need some help today because we got some things to go over, y'all. So I'm gonna paste it here in the chat, and then I'm going to pin it to the top. Mary Ann, hey Mary Ann, how are you? All right, let me pin this to the top. If I got some readers out there that can help me get through this, oh my gosh, I would love it. Noonie, I see you here. West Coast, anybody who can help me, that would be awesome. Let me see. Karen J, what's up, Karen J? How are you? West Coast Bells is in the building. What's going on? Daughter of the Most High, hello. Kella, what's up, Killer Kales? What's up, brother? Toon the Goon is in the building, y'all. Let me see here. Lady D, hello. How you doing? Shouty, what up, Shouty? How are you? Jazzy Cuteness, hello. You twerking in the chat? I know that's right. Queen Keisha's in the building. What's up? Mary Ann Green, hello. When the government responding to Bonjean? Let me find out exactly what date. I'm gonna get me lying on here now. Miss Jennifer, hello. Tracy Wallace, hello. Okay, no problem. All right, y'all. So today we are going to talk about surviving Bonjean. This is dealing with the racketeering, and we'll be talking about the enterprise, y'all. We're talking about the enterprise and all that. What's up, Thomas Reese? What's up? How you doing? All right, Jazzy said was playing my song back in the day when I was young and sexy. Oh, you still young and sexy, girl. What you talking about? All right, let me see. I'm happy to catch you live. Just open my own home healthcare service, and I've been working hard. Well, congratulations, Miss Wallace. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. That's what it is. Yep, surviving Bojangle. All right, y'all. So check this out. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to get into this. Any of my readers that want to come in, please hit the link, come in, so we can get through this thing, okay? So first thing I want to do is I want to start off with reading this motion that Bonjean had put out, okay? I want to get with that. Let me get to where I need to get to, and then I'm going to share this stuff with y'all, and then we're going to get straight down to it, y'all. Okay, like I said, let me give a disclaimer right now. Let me put a disclaimer because I've been hearing a lot of different bloggers for some reason that have Atmos name in their mouth and OCOV names in their mouth, and I don't get it. Miss Melanin Poppin', what's good? How are you? So here's what we're gonna do, y'all. I heard, and I've been doing so good, not, talking about, the dude in Houston, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to go a different direction, right? The little dude, you know what I'm talking about? Y'all know what I'm talking about. But earlier I hear my name in his mouth, and I'm just like, why? I don't get it. Like, I don't know. But I understand that there's distractions out there. People don't want us doing what I'm about to do right now. So we're going to continue on the path of breaking down these charges and breaking down what the defense is trying to say that the government didn't prove. We're going to take the high road, y'all. Okay. I've heard about Miss one Pap talking about me. I heard it from other people. I haven't watched her live. I can't even, God won't even let me find it. I can't even find it. So I'm just going to let that be, right? Whatever she said about me, what she said about me, it is what it is. Then you got the other person who was on here that I played. So it's, they popping up out the woodworks. It's pop, 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 right? But it's all good because all we're doing is reading the facts, reading what's sworn and what we need to read. Okay, so we're going to get straight into it, y'all. We're going to get straight into it. First, we're going to go ahead and pull up this Bonjean thingamajigger. Let me share this with y'all. And let's get straight to it. So, as you can see here, this is page 3 of her motion for an acquittal for Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly. Okay, for Mr. Robert Sylvester Kelly. Okay, so as it says here, and I need y'all to remember something. Somebody brought this to my attention before, but I gotta go ahead and post this. I gotta go ahead and post this. Hold on. Today is Robert Keller's birthday. Today is Robert Keller's birthday. If y'all don't mind, please go ahead. Thank you, Purple, for that blessing earlier. If y'all would please say happy birthday to Robert Keller. That's my bro. He has been amazing at helping me to navigate and get this stuff together for y'all. Y'all, please give him a shout out and a happy birthday. Give him a happy birthday, y'all. If you would please do that. Let me do this. Hold on. Let me edit. Boom. There we go. So, y'all, please give a shout out to. Hold on. Hide. Scroll across the bottom. Save. Hide this. Okay, great. So everybody say happy birthday to Mr. Keller. I ain't about to sing to you, bro. You know what I'm saying? I only sing for the lady. I ain't sing, bro. You good. You know what I mean? Happy birthday. Cock-a-doodle-doo. You know what I'm saying? Happy birthday to Keller. He turned 55 today. So if y'all could throw them 55s in the chat, you know what I'm saying? For my brother, you know what I mean? And so we can spread love and show him that we love him. You know what I'm saying? He pushes 60, but it's all good. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. I'm just joking, y'all. He ain't 55. Yeah, y'all. Thank y'all for throwing up that throwing up them birthday shout outs for Keller. Okay. All right, y'all. Let's get into this. So here we are. So it says here, as set out in detail below, the defendant's RICO conviction cannot stand where the government failed to prove the existence of an enterprise, the activities of which affected interstate commerce, and a pattern of racketeering activity. Moreover, insufficient evidence existed to prove each and every element of the charged Mann Act violations by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So, y'all, this is what Bonjean is trying to say. She's saying that the government failed to prove that the defendant guilty of the offense of racketeering count 1. So it says here, Bonjean says the court must acquit the defendant of the offense of racketeering where the government failed to prove the defendant guilty beyond a reasonable doubt of each and every element of the offense. The government effectively swamped the jury with bad character evidence that was guaranteed to produce a guilty verdict. But its proof on the charged offenses were insufficient as a matter of law, ignoring the distinctly economic legislative history of the RICO statute. the government brought a RICO prosecution against the defendant, not to remedy widespread criminal activity of an enterprise, but to punish one man whose alleged crimes could no longer be prosecuted by state and local agencies. The government's belated entrance in protecting the defendant's alleged victims does not justify application of the RICO statute to alleged private sexual misconduct of the defendant, and only the defendant, even if some of that conduct could have been timely prosecuted by local authorities long ago. Now, as a reminder, RICO's primary purpose was to combat organized crime by prosecuting the highly diversified acts of a single organized crime enterprise under a RICO's umbrella. The overarching goal of the statute was to curb the infiltration of legitimate business organizations by racketeers. In the statement of finding the purposes accompanying the RICO statute, Congress declared the following: that Congress finds that, number one, organized crimes in the United States is a highly sophisticated, diversified, and widespread activity that annually drains billions of dollars from America's economy by unlawful conduct and the illegal use of force. So it says here fraud and corruption. Number two, organized crime derives a major portion of its power through money obtained from such illegal endeavors and syndicated gambling, loan sharking, and theft and fencing of property. The importation and distribution of narcotics and dangerous drugs and other forms of social exploitation. Number three, this money and power are increasingly used to infiltrate and corrupt legitimate business and labor unions, and to subvert and corrupt our democratic processes. Number four, organized crime activities in the United States weaken the stability of the nation, economic system, harm innocent investors, and competing organizations, interfere with free competition, seriously burden interstate and foreign commerce, threaten the domestic security, and deter. Let me bring this in a little bit for y'all so y'all can see it a little better. I think I got it in as far as I can go. There we go. Okay, welfare of the nation and its citizens. Number five, organized crime continues to grow because of the defects of the evidence gathering process of the law, inhibiting the development of legally admissible evidence necessary to bring criminal, other sanctions, or remedies to bear the unlawful activities of those engaged in organized crime, and because of the sanctions. So sanctions. Remedies available to the government are unnecessarily limited in scope and impact. It is the purpose of this act to seek the eradication of organized crime in the United States by strengthening the legal tools in the evidence gathering process, by establishing new penal prohibitions, and by providing enhanced sanctions and new remedies to deal with the unlawful activities to those engaged in organized crime. So then they list some case law. Admittedly, prosecutors have used the RICO in a wide variety of circumstances under statutes liberation construction. They list some case law. The liberal construction clause, notwithstanding, the Supreme Court has acknowledged that the clause is not without limits. More case law. It says the Supreme Court has acknowledged that the clause without limits. As the court held in Revis, the liberal construction clause was not an invasion to apply RICO. Hi, baby. Oh, hold on, y'all. I got him. Give me your cage. I didn't know you was coming up here. You can't help but expect it. Yeah. Hi, baby. You okay? Sit down. I didn't know you was doing that. Hi. want to say hi? Yes. Okay. Say hi to everybody. Say hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Say how y'all doing? Yep. So Daddy in here working. I'm working, yeah. You been a good girl today? Okay, I love you. Give me a kiss. All right, bye. Oh, mommy. Okay, y'all. Sorry, honey. I didn't know you was coming up here. You should have knocked. I would have went and got him. All right. Sorry about that. Daddy gonna come get you, okay? I'm gonna come get you, okay? You want pizza? Tell Israel get that pizza out of my car. And give her, okay. Okay, baby, Daddy come get you. All right, y'all. The government clearly exceeded those limits with the prosecution as evidenced by its failure to prove the charged offense of racketeering. Okay? So to sustain a conviction for RICO, the government must prove that the defendant, one, through the commission of two or more acts, constituted a pattern of racketeering activity. Two, directly or indirectly invested in, maintained an interest in, or participated in an enterprise. Three, the activities of which affected interstate or foreign commerce. 18 U.S.C. 1962. As set out below, the government offered insufficient proof of all elements of the offense of racketeering. It says the government's proof did not establish an enterprise. The government's case was doomed from the start when it failed to plead and prove an enterprise. An enterprise includes any individual, partnership, corporation, association, or other legal entity and other union or group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. The United States Supreme Court has defined a RICO enterprise as a group of persons associated together for a common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct. Then there's more case law. An enterprise is demonstrated by evidence of an ongoing organization, formal or informal, and by the evidence that the various associates function as a continuing unit. For a purpose of to engage in a particular fraudulent course of conduct and work together to achieve such purposes. The enterprise's purpose has to be common to all of its members, and they list more case law. It says here the enterprise is neither the individual defendant nor the pattern of racketeering activity. Rather, it is an entity separate and apart from the pattern of activity in which is engaged and must be engaged and proved separately. However, there must be a nexus between the enterprise and the racketeering activity that is being conducted. They list more case law. Furthermore, the RICO enterprise must have an ascertainable structure separate and distinct from the pattern of racketeering activities. Finally, for 1962 purposes, that the person charged with the RICO violation and the alleged enterprise must be separate and distinct from one another. This requirement flows from the statutory mandate that a person who engaged in a pattern of racketeering activity must be employed by or associated with the enterprise. More case law. An entity cannot simultaneously be an enterprise and the person who conducts its affairs permitted. That would be tantamount to permitting an entity to associate itself. Common purpose. In its third superseding indictment, the government alleged that the defendant, his employees, bodyguards, managers, drivers, personal assistants, and runners, and other members of his entourage constituted the enterprise for RICO purposes. According to the government, the purpose of the enterprise was to, number one, promote the defendant's music and his brand. Number two, recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity with the defendant. Number three, produce pornography, including child pornography. the government did not allege that the enterprise constituted a legal entity, but rather an association of individuals. That was in the superseding indictment in docket 43. As held in Satinwood Supra for an association of individuals to constitute an enterprise, the individuals must share a common purpose to engage in a particular fraudulent course of conduct and work together to achieve such purposes. Emphasis added. Thus, for the government to establish an enterprise here, it was required to prove that the defendant, his employees, and entourage came together with the common purpose of recruiting women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity and produce pornography, not merely the broader purpose of promoting the defendant's music or brand. Assuming the defendant's employees and entourage did share a common objective of promoting the defendant's music, that objective had no nexus to the underlying racketeering activity. They list case law. It says here the defendant did not go through all of the trouble of becoming a world-famous R&B singer for the purpose of engaging in illegal sexual activity, even if his job put him in proximity to women. The government cannot run the common purpose requirement by identifying a broad objective of the enterprise unrelated to any fraudulent activity with no nexus to the racketeering activity. The government's evidence of the enterprise was insufficient because it failed to establish that the defendant's employees and entourage shared the common purpose of recruiting women to engage in illegal sexual activity. Now, with the defendant, that included creating pornography. Notably, the government does not define illegal sexual activity, but based on the predicate acts charged, the government contends that the defendant's employees and entourage shared an objective of ensuring that the defendant had his sexual needs met by women, some, not all underage women, but while at home and while traveling, was able to control these women to engage in sexual conduct the government deems abusive, was able to videotape his sexual activities with these women, and could expose the sexual partners to herpes. To be clear, the government contends that making sure that the defendant's sexual needs were met with the objective of was the objective of the enterprise, in addition to promoting his music and brand. So that there is what Bonjean is trying to purport, that the government did not prove that a enterprise even existed. Okay, that that R. Kelly had nothing to do with whatever his employees or whatever did, that he is not held responsible for what they did because they are separated. Now, let's read exactly what the government had to say about this. Actually, no, we're going to actually go into the jury instructions on what the judge actually had to say about what's going on here. Let me see here. Matter of fact, no, let me start here. Let me start right here. Let's go into, let me see. Yeah, let's go into seeing what the judge had to say. Let's see what Auntie Ann had to say about this. These were her instructions, okay? So this is page 4628, y'all. 4628, we're going to start at line 16, okay? All right? If y'all good out there, put a watermelon in the chat. If y'all are good, put a watermelon in the chat for your boy. Let me see some watermelons out there if y'all good. What's up, T-Band 1? What's up? What's up? What's up? Y'all throw me some watermelons in the chat so I can know y'all good. We about to get into this thing. Let me see some watermelons. Yeah, she is a daddy's girl, y'all. She is a daddy's girl. There we go. Okay, let's get it. So, It says here, first, an enterprise, as described in the indictment, existed on or about the alleged in the indictment. So let me read that again. First, an enterprise, as described in the indictment, existed on or about the time alleged in the indictment. So Auntie Anne is saying, now Bonjean is saying that there was no enterprise existed. But Auntie Anne is instructing to the jury, hey, first of all, an enterprise, as described in the indictment, existed on or about the time alleged in the indictment. So there was an enterprise there. Okay, thank y'all for the watermelons. Now, second, the enterprise engaged in or its activities affected interstate or foreign commerce. Third, the defendant was employed by or associated with the enterprise. Fourth, the defendant knowingly conducted or participated, either directly or indirectly, in the conduct of the affairs of the enterprise. Fifth, the defendant knowingly participated in the conduct of the affairs or enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity as described in the indictment. That is, through the commission of at least 2 of the charged racketeering acts, the last of which must have occurred within 10 years after the commission of a prior racketeering act. Okay? So, let me read that again. It says, through the commission of at least 2 of the charged racketeering acts. So, out of the 14 racketeering acts, they only had to, out of the 14, they had to prove 2. They had to prove 2 out of the 14. Okay? It says the last of which must have occurred within 10 years after the commission of prior racketeering act, or through causing or aiding and abetting the commission of 2 such racketeering acts. Now, it says, I'm now going to talk about these elements in greater detail. First, the existence of the enterprise. The government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that an enterprise existed. The indictment alleges that the existence of the following enterprise, the defendant, Robert Sylvester Kelly, as known as R. Kelly, and individuals who served as managers, bodyguards, drivers, personal assistants, and runners for Kelly, as well as member of Kelly's entourage, comprised and enterprise. Hold on, y'all. Let me see something here. Okay, I want to make sure nobody backstage. Nope. Okay, cool. Give me one moment here. All right, we back. There we go. Kelly's enterprise comprise. Okay, Kelly's in entourage. Hold on. Enterprise serves as managers. Okay, run. Okay, drivers, personal assistants, and runners for Kelly, as well as members of Kelly's entourage, comprised an enterprise within the meaning of 18 USC Section 1961(4). That is, the enterprise constituted a group of individuals associated, in fact, that was engaged in the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce. The enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members mentioned as a conditioning unit for those for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of the enterprise. Okay? Now, y'all, before I get going, I do want to let y'all know that some R. Kelly supporters may come over here. They may have things to say. As long as they're respectful, I don't want anybody blocking anybody. I don't care if they don't say nothing disrespectful. They can say whatever. They can say free R. Kelly, whatever. I don't want people getting blocked for any reason. Okay? Unless they are just straight disrespectful. Okay? Thank you. It says here, the purposes of the enterprise were to promote R. Kelly's music and the R. Kelly brand, to recruit women and girls to engage in illegal sexual activity with Kelly, and to produce pornography, including child pornography, by promoting R. Kelly's music and the R. Kelly brand. The members of the enterprise expected to receive financial opportunities, personal benefits, including increased power and status within the enterprise. In connection with the enterprise, Kelly and other members of the enterprise traveled throughout the United States and abroad to perform at concert venues to promote the R. Kelly brand and to recruit him and girls to engage in illegal sexual activities with Kelly. When Kelly attended and performed at concerts and other events, Kelly and other members of the enterprise on Kelly's behalf invited women and girls backstage and to other events following Kelly's live performances. These women and girls were often offered wristbands that signified that they were authorized to attend an event. Now, there, Kelly relied upon member of the enterprise to ensure that only those authorized to attend were allowed at the event and to manage the flow of women and girls who were directly interacting with Kelly. Now, when Kelly identified a woman or girl who he wished to see again, he either gave his contact information to the woman or girl or obtained her contact information or relied on members of the enterprise to do so. Okay? So as we're reading this, we're already seeing that the enterprise were pretty much like puppets for him. So he'd say, hey, you see her over there? Get her. If that enterprise member or employee or associate or bodyguard or whoever was associated with him went over and got that girl and the girl went back with him, that enterprise member had something to do with that girl getting in contact or dealing with him. Okay? Following these events, Kelly communicated with certain of these women and girls by telephone, including through the use of traditional telephone calls, text messages, iMessages, and FaceTime. As part of his communication, Kelly often requested that the women or girls provide photographs of themselves. Kelly and other members of the enterprise also arranged for women and girls to travel to see Kelly on occasion, including at concerts throughout the United States and related events. To facilitate their travel, Kelly directed the women and girls to contact a member of the enterprise who then arranged travel for the women and girls. Y'all know who that was, Cheryl Mack. Enterprise then arranged travel for the women and girls. When the women and girls arrived at the lodging, which was typically selected by a member of the enterprise, a member of the enterprise usually provided them with instructions. In addition, members of the enterprise took steps to ensure that the women and girls did not interact with other women and girls who Kelly planned to see. Members of the enterprise then arranged if the women and girls to attend his concerts and positioned them such that Kelly could see them during the concerts. Now, Kelly promulgated numerous rules that many of his sexual partners are required to follow, including the following. The women, hold on, can y'all see? Hold on. Make sure I'm sharing the right. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I forgot to go over here. Hold on. Hold on. Boom. I forgot to share this screen with y'all. My bad. Here we go. All right, I'm on track now. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to start right here at 9:19. Kelly promulgated numerous rules that many of his sexual partners were required to follow, including the following. The women and girls were not permitted to leave their room without receiving permission from Kelly, including to eat or go to the bathroom. The women and girls were required to wear baggy clothing when they were not accompanying Kelly to the event or unless otherwise instructed. What's up, Daddy's girl? How you doing? By Kelly. Now, the women and girls were not permitted to look at other men and instead were told to keep their heads down, and the women and girls were required to call Kelly Daddy. Now, the enterprise operated within the Eastern District of New York and elsewhere, including overseas. Methods and means of the enterprise. Among the means and methods of Kelly and his associates participated in the conduct of affairs in the enterprise were the following: committing, attempting, and aiding and abetting the commission of crimes and conspiring to commit crimes, including but not limited to engaging in sexual activity with girls under 18 years old, engaging and facilitating sexual activity without disclosing sexually transmitted disease Kelly had contracted, producing child pornography, bribery, extortion, coercion, and blackmail, demanding absolute commitment to Kelly and not tolerating dissent, obtaining sensitive information about sexual partners and members and associates of the enterprise to maintain control over them, creating embarrassing and degrading videos of sexual partners to maintain control over them, recruiting and grooming sexual partners for Kelly, and isolating women and girls from friends and family and making them dependent on Kelly for their financial well-being. The term enterprise, as used in these instructions, may include a group of people associated. In fact, through this association is not recognized as a legal entity. So let me read that one more time so y'all understand. The term enterprise, as used, these instructions may include any group of people associated. In fact, even though this association is not recognized as a legal entity, an enterprise does not have to be a formal business entity like a corporation. So first thing needs to be clear. An enterprise does not have to be a particular name of a business. Hey, Karen Johnson. Okay? Or like a corporation. Nor must it be registered or licensed as an enterprise or as commonly recognized legally entity like a corporation, a partnership, a business, or the like. Instead, an enterprise may be merely an informal association of individuals. The term enterprise includes legitimate and illegitimate enterprises. An enterprise can be a vehicle used by a defendant to commit crimes. Let me read that one more time. Let's read that one more time. An enterprise can be a vehicle used by a defendant to commit crimes. So if I go and grab someone to do something for you, if I go get an illegal ID for a 15-year-old for you to marry as a 27-year-old man, then I am the vehicle in which you are using to go and commit crimes. If anybody out there got what I just said, I want you to put some watermelons in the chat, please. If anybody out there got what I just said, will you throw some watermelons in the chat for your boy, please? An enterprise can be a vehicle used by the defendant to commit crimes. That means, exactly, Julie Huggins, that means it can be his friends. The enterprise does not have to have a particular name, or for that matter, any name at all. A group or association of people can be an enterprise if these people have associated together for the common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct. Mere similarity of conduct or the fact that the individuals may have assembled together and discussed common aims and interests does not necessarily establish the proof of the existence of an enterprise, although you may consider such factors, such as association of persons may be established by evidence showing an ongoing organization, formal or informal. As we know, R. Kelly had a lot of informal people around him. He had a lot of old school friends, people who, he knew from the hood who hung around him, people who was now police officers that grew up with him in the hood, all that stuff, right? So he probably didn't have a whole bunch of doctors and, lawyers walking with him everywhere he went and professional bodyguards. He had niggas from the hood, niggas he knew, he grew up with, right? Hey, what up? Hey, Junebug. Hey, I got a job for you, boy. Come on over here. He hired a bunch of people that he knew, right? Hold on. There's somebody on here. Let me see who's here. T-Bam.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. How you doing?
Fine.
Okay, awesome. You gonna help me read?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, I'll keep going a little bit longer. I'm gonna let you in. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. It says, comments engaging in the course of conduct, mere similarity of conduct or fact that individuals may have assembled together and discussed common aims and interests does not necessarily establish the proof of the existence of an enterprise, although you may consider such factors. Such an association of persons may be established by evidence showing an ongoing organization, formal or informal, and by evidence that the people making up the association functioned as a continuing unit. The government must prove that an association, in fact, enterprise, existed by evidence of an ongoing organization, formal or informal, and by evidence that the various associates functioned as a continuing unit. Did R. Kelly not consistently bring people in, fire them, bring them back, fire them, bring them back, and they all worked in their area of expertise? If you was the guy who answered the phones, that was your job. You answer the phones, the girls tell you what they want, you write it down, you take messages, that's your job. I don't want you walking through the house now. You don't even know what's going on in that room. You stay right here. This your job. Cheryl Mack, this your job. You're going to be doing this. You're going to pretty much look at my overall operations, and you're going to make sure you handle the travel of the girls, make sure they get here, they get there, make sure they know their rules, they don't talk to nobody, and all that, okay? So we there. Let's not forget about let's not forget about the white doctor, okay? So it says, it is not necessary that the enterprise have a particular or formal structure. So it don't have to be formal, y'all. It don't have to be formal, but it must have sufficient organization that its members function and operated in a coordinated manner to carry out the alleged common purpose or purposes of the enterprise. T-Bam, you can go ahead and jump in. I mean, this is not T-Bam. Is this T-Bam?
Yes.
Oh, hey, okay. I ain't look at the name. I'm sorry. You can go ahead and jump in right there where it says the court. Go ahead.
The court, okay. Such a group need not have a hierarchical
yeah.
of chain of command. Decisions must be made on an ad hoc basis and by any number of methods, by majority vote, consensus, a show of strength, etc. Members of the group do not need to have fixed roles. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Different members may perform different roles at different times. The group does not need to have a name, regular meetings, dues, established rules and regulations, disciplinary procedures, or initiation procedures. While the group must function as a continuing unit, the remaining in existence long enough to pursue a course of conduct, you may nonetheless find that the enterprise element is satisfied by finding the existence of a group whose associates engage in spurts of activities that are punctuated by periods of inept activities. Thus, an enterprise need not have roles, differentiations,
Differentiation.
um,
Yeah, good.
differentiations,
Mhm.
and unique mods. Is it
Yeah,
opera
I'll
operate?
something like that.
A chain of command, sophistications of organizations, diversities and complexities of crimes, uncharged or additional crimes aside from the alleged racketeering activities or enterprise name. Moreover, the enterprise is not required to be businesslike in its form or functions, and it may but does not need to have an economic profit seeking motive. Indeed, RICO, as the statute is called, is not limited to groups whose crimes are,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
you have to scroll up, okay,
Okay.
sophisticated, diverse, complex, or unique. Such associations of individuals may retain its status as an enterprise even though the membership of the association changes over the time by adding or losing individuals during the course of its existence. The existence of the enterprise continues even if there's a gap of interruption of the enterprise racketeering activities. Although whether the enterprise exists in a distinct element that must be proved by the government. Common sense tells us that the existence of the enterprise is often more readily proven, but by what it does rather than an abstract analysis of its structure. Thus, the evidence used to prove the pattern of racketeering and the enterprise may coalesce.
Mhm.
You may consider proof of the racketeering acts to determine whether the evidence established the existence of an enterprise, and further, you may infer the existence of an enterprise from the evidence of the pattern of racketeering activity. Moreover, it's not necessary to prove that every member of the enterprise participated in or knew about all of the general nature of the enterprise and knew that the enterprise extended beyond his individual role. The government needs only establish that the defendant acted with the request criminal intent.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to go back over that really quick. It says, moreover, it is not necessary to prove that every member of the enterprise participated in or knew about all of its activities. It is
Right.
sufficient that the defendant knew the general nature of the enterprise and knew that the enterprise extended beyond his individual role. So, with them saying this here, when R. Kelly told Demetrius Smith on that plane, I think I messed up. I think Aaliyah pregnant. With him telling him that and them knowing about fixing that situation, that was sufficient enough that R. Kelly knew or had some type of general idea that some things were going to get done in order to help him fix this issue. So he was just, even though he didn't walk in there and personally say, hey, I need a fake ID. Here's $500 to give me a fake ID. He was aware of the activities that were going to have to happen in order to make things happen. These are patterns, y'all. These are patterns. Okay? I apologize, T-Pain. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
Okay. So you can go ahead. The government is not.
Okay. The government is not required to prove each and every allegation about the enterprise or the way in which the enterprise operated. The enterprise proof, however, must be essentially the one that was alleged in the indictment. The second element is the effect on interstate commerce and foreign commerce, and the government must prove the elements beyond a reasonable doubt. That the enterprise was engaged. Hold on. That was engaged in or had an effect on the interstate of foreign commerce, even if it's just a minimal effect. Interstate commerce means trade or conducting business or traveling between one state or another state or the District of Columbia, or foreign commerce such trade, business, or travel between the United States and another country. Therefore, interstate and foreign commerce may include the movement of money, goods, service, or people from one state to another, or the District of Columbia, or between the United States and another country. This may include, among other things, the purchase of sale of goods, or supply from outside the United States, the use of interstate and international mail and wire facilities, or the cause of any other things. The government does not have to prove that the defendant act affected interstate commerce or that the defendant knew he was affecting interstate commerce. With respect to proving that the enterprise had an effect on interstate and foreign commerce, the government is not required to prove a significant or substantial effect on the interstate of foreign commerce. This element must simply ensure federal jurisdiction over the conduct. It is satisfied even if a minimal effect on interstate or foreign commerce is shown. The effect does not have to be direct. Any effect, even if it is postponed, indirect, or slight, is enough to satisfy the interstate commerce element. It does not matter whether the effect is harmful or beneficial to interstate commerce. Moreover, the government does not have to prove that the defendant knew that the enterprise would affect interstate or foreign commerce, that the defendant intended to affect interstate or foreign commerce, or that the defendant engaged in or that his activity affected interstate or foreign commerce.
I'll jump in. Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
So the judge says, I instruct you that it makes no difference whether the type of interstate commerce affected is legal or illegal. It is not necessary for the government to prove that the individual racketeering acts themselves affected interstate commerce or foreign commerce. Rather, it is the enterprise and its activities considered in their entirety that must be shown to have had that effect. On the other hand, this effect on interstate or foreign commerce may establish, though, the effect caused by the individual racketeering acts. So this is where we're going to stop here. Okay? So far, the judge's instructions to the jury has been, listen, the government don't got to prove, that he did it. The government don't have to prove that. They can just say, listen, he knew about it, or he knew somebody who knew about it, or he had some type of idea but didn't quite know exactly what was going to happen in order to make the crime happen, but he knew something about it. Now, as we understood, as we read through these transcripts, we all understand that R. Kelly was a narcissist. He needed to know everything. When you went to the bathroom, what time you went to the bathroom, what you did when you was in the bathroom, he knew everything. He needed to have full control over everything and everybody in his house. Okay? So now we're going to jump over here and we are going to see what the government had to say about these enterprise situations. Here we go. Let me share this with y'all so y'all can see. T-Bam, you good? You need to get some water or something?
Yeah, I'm good. Hold on, I'm lagging behind on one of this.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and start reading, okay? So, y'all, This right here is page 4251. This is the summation by the government. This is Ms. Geddes reading the summation, okay? I'm starting right here at line 7. Grab y'all popcorn because this right here is about to break everything down one by one, line by line. Here we go. Ms. Geddes says, I want to start by talking about count 1, racketeering. The law recognizes that when someone commits a crime as part of a group, he's more powerful, more dangerous. Put simply, racketeering means that the defendant was part of a group of people who were working toward a common goal. Under the law, we say that he was part of an enterprise. And as a part of his involvement in that enterprise, he committed crime. Now, and as you saw and heard during this trial, the defendant was more than just a part of the enterprise. He was its leader, and he used its other members to achieve his criminal goals. Now, Judge Donnelly will instruct you later, as we just read her instruction. And if at any time during my closing remarks I say anything that is different than what Judge Donnelly tells you, it is her instruction that will control. But I anticipate that for count 1, the racketeering count, she's going to tell you that the government has to prove 5 different elements beyond the reasonable doubt. And later on, you will get copies of the charge. And you will have access to all of the exhibits that have been admitted in this case. Throughout my presentation today, I'm going to show you some of these exhibits on the slideshow. You are not going to get those, but if you note down to a particular exhibit, you will have access to that. Okay? Now, I will also be mentioning some transportation sites, and you will have access to all of those, transcription sites. And you all will have access to those transcription sites as well. All right. So in terms of racketeering, and again, Judge Donnelly will be instructing you on this. So, you don't need to write any of these things down unless you really want to. Now, the first element is that the enterprise, as described in the indictment, existed on or about the time alleged in the indictment. Second, is that the enterprise engaged in or its activities affected interstate or foreign commerce. Third, that the defendant was employed by or was associated with the enterprise. Fourth, that the defendant knowingly conducted or participated either directly or indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the enterprise. And then the fifth is really a long one, a long count. And I'm going to talk about it in a moment. So we'll just flip through that, okay? Now, I'm going to talk about the first element, the enterprise. Now, the enterprise that, you've learned about over the past several weeks, it consists of the defendant's inner circle. You've heard about, his inner circle, his business managers, his accountants, his personal assistants, the runners, the drivers, security, and the members of his entourage. Now, over the past 3 decades, that's 30 years, y'all. Is Tanya in here? Tanya, what's up? Tanya, can you jump on and read? If you can, jump in, please, if you can. Over the past 3 decades, the names of those individuals have changed, but their roles have remained the same. And since the beginning, the defendant has always been the leader of that enterprise. And over on my right, you can see the defendant's inner circle, his enterprise. Shown here where you have the defendant in the middle, you have some of his closest advisors around, and then up to the right, there's some of his personal assistants, and below are some of the individuals that you heard, served as the drivers. And you got Terry, you got, Joe Allen, Top Gun. On the bottom left, you see some of the individuals who testified before you and served as runners for the defendant. You got Nick Williams, you got Anthony Navarro. Above there are some of the individuals who served as security for the defendant. Y'all, hold on. Tanya.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
Good, you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for joining me at T-Bam.
Hey, T-Bam, how's it going?
Hey, it's going fine.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Hey, listen, you're perfect. You came perfect timing.
Good.
All right, so let me go ahead and read on.
Okay.
So you got Candy, you got Big John, you got Ronald Hardley above there. And then you have some individuals who served as his engineers. And then in that inner circle, you see some of the defendant's closest advisors. Oh, yeah. Now, who you heard about a lot, okay, during this trial. And I will talk more about, but for your reference, we'll have this board so that you can put a face to some of the names. Now, there's not a face for every single name that I'll record today, but some of them are there. Now, defense counsel has suggested, what's up, Tiz? What up, Tiz? Now, the defense counsel has suggested to you in opening statements and in their cross-examination that there's nothing abnormal about the defendant. A successful R&B singer and performer having an inner circle such as the one shown on the board. And that's right. That's absolutely correct. The enterprise charged in the indictment is not a criminal one. But I just told you that the law recognizes that an individual becomes more powerful when he's backed by a group. And that is exactly what happened here. The defendant was able to carry out the racketeering acts related to 6 women: Aaliyah, Stephanie, Sonia, Geronda, Jane, and Faith, because he had the enterprise, the one shown on the board, at his disposal to help him do it. Now, and while the enterprise on its own was not necessarily a criminal one, having sat through the past 6 weeks of testimony, you know that working for the defendant was not like a normal job. I mean, remember Anthony Navarro? He's shown here on the bottom corner. He was once a runner for the defendant, and he testified during the first week of trial, describing his employment with the defendant as the Twilight Zone. Nick Williams, another one of the government's last witnesses, he described working there as a hostile work environment. The defendant set rules, lots of them, and he demanded absolute obedience. And you heard that he set these rules for the girls and women around him, but he also set them for the members of the enterprise. You heard from Anthony Navarro, his longtime studio manager, Tom Arnold. He's in that inner circle there, and his loyal, personal, and then executive assistant, Diana Copeland. Okay? And you heard from Suzette Mayweather about how each of them were fined by the defendant for their perceived violations. Even fines were among the means by which the defendant kept his inner circle in line, kept the enterprise in line, and as part of the defendant's leadership of the enterprise. The defendant made his inner circle. When I say inner circle, I'm referring to the enterprise, not to that smaller inner circle. He made his inner circle sign confidentiality agreements. Oh, yeah, and he refused to let anyone take photographs. Anyone photograph the inner workings of his world. And for many, many years, what happened in the defendant's world stayed in the defendant's world, but no longer. If you want to jump in, Tanya, right there.
Sure. All right. Over the past several weeks, you've learned that the defendant's inner circle worked together to promote the defendant's music and brand, but his inner circle also served as enablers for his criminal conduct. Some, like Demetria Smith and Daryl McDavid, actively assisted with overtly criminal acts. Others turned a blind eye as this recruited women and girls for the defendant's sexual gratification and stood watch over the defendant's girlfriends and female guests. But without his inner circle, the defendant could not have carried out the crimes that he carried out for as long as he did. In fact, the fines and other measures of control imposed by the defendant helped to keep the enterprise running and to ensure that its members did everything the defendant directed without hesitation, without question. And and we'll talk more about it today, that those directives, sometimes explicit, other times implied, those directives allowed the defendant to commit the racketeering acts that he's charged with. You also learned that the defendant's inner circle, it didn't function like other inner circles. And you know that because the defendant's drivers did much more than drive around the defendant and members of his entourage. They transported girls and young women the defendant recruited. You heard Alexis, the young woman from Jacksonville who testified. She told you that the defendant's bus driver, Terry, once drove her from Jacksonville to see the defendant in Miami, an hour-long drive. And you know that because the runners did more than just get coffee and supplies for this defendant and others at his studios. They picked up the defendant's guests from airports, trains, train stations, and their homes and brought them to nearby hotels. You heard Jeffries just testify about that, one of the defense witnesses. They escorted them to rooms within the studio where the individual women stayed for long periods of time. Anthony Navarro and Tom Arnold told you all of that, and you saw emails confirming that they did just that. And on your screen, you see 2 emails that were recovered from a computer within the defendant's storage facility. This is Government Exhibit 468, and one is an email referring to arranging for Alexis to be picked up. And again, that's when Alexis was 17. There is another email below that from June of 2009 asking or mentioning that another individual needs to be picked up. And we'll talk more about how you know this, that individual was Dominique, the one you've heard a lot about. And she too was just 17 at the time that email was sent. Now, to accommodate the defendant's rule that women in his orbit have no contact with men, including runners picking them up, you heard Tom Arnold tell you that he would put the rearview mirror up, sacrificing everyone's safety since he could no longer fully or easily see what was behind him. You know, I'm talking about why his inner circle was different than others. You know that the personal assistants did much more at the concerts than coordinate after parties and manage the defendant's wardrobe. The personal assistants, along with the runners, distributed little pieces of paper with the defendant's phone number to girls and young women. And you know this because Tom Arnold and Anthony Navarro told you that they distributed the defendant's number to females at concerts, malls, after parties, and other events. And you saw those typewritten numbers that were found in the defendant's storage facility. And this is shown in Government Exhibit 401. Those are 3 little slips of paper with a phone number ending in 7283. And you can see from Government Exhibit 117A that phone number, it was subscribed to by the defendant's business, RSK Enterprises, and it was also saved in someone's phone as a phone number for the defendant. It was actually saved in a couple of individuals' phones, and those are shown on the screen. And so that's just one very small example of how you know that the defendant's runners and personal assistants were distributing his phone numbers. Now, you know that the defendant's assistants also did much more than just make sure he was on time for business meetings with record executives. They also made travel arrangements for the girls and young women to fly across the country. You know this because Diana Copeland told you that. She made travel arrangements for females to travel around the United States. So did his studio manager, Tom Arnold, and his personal assistants, Cheryl Mack and the Mayweather sisters, all of whom testified at this trial. You know that the defendant's male personal assistants, that's some of the group that is in that circle around the defendant, they did much more than drive the Sprinter vans and carry his luggage. Like the others in his inner circle, they contributed to the success of the defendant's crimes. They carried that backpack that stored the defendant's many iPads that he used to record girls and young women engaging in sexually explicit conduct. Diana Copeland told you that the defendant's male personal assistants, and I'm using that distinction because you've heard many witnesses talk about the female assistants and the male assistants. So Diana Copeland told you that his male personal assistants carried the backpack that stored his iPads. Special Agent Shabbat from the Department of Homeland Security told you that the day before the defendant was arrested, he actually saw George Kelly, who is also known as Junebug. He is over there in that circle around the defendant, carrying a backpack that the defendant had been carrying a few minutes earlier. And you also know that his assistants picked up the defendant's prescriptions to treat his herpes. In evidence are Walgreens records. And I'm going to talk about a lot of evidence, some of which you just heard the government admitting a particular exhibit number, but we didn't put it on the screen. So I'm going to be talking about some pieces of evidence that you will be seeing for the first time today. But again, you will have access to all of this in your deliberations.
Thank you, Tanya. T-Man 1, you want to jump in?
Okay. Can you scroll up a little bit? I'm behind a little bit. Okay.
Oh, you are.
So in the evidence, in evidence are Walgreens records, and it's shown on the screen now. And you can see that the records show that there was a prescription for what's that? Valacor?
Yeah, Vala. They know what you're talking about. I think it's Val. Yeah. Valac.
Okay, that's one of
whatever it is. Go ahead. It's all good.
Mm-hmm. That part.
Is that ain't it the same thing as Valtrex? Is that like the generic version of Valtrex?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Is wrong.
That's one of the medications used to treat herpes, as Dr. McGraw told you. And this is just one example where you can see that a particular occasion, a J. Brown picked up the prescription, and you know that because J. Brown's Walgreens loyalty card was used to pick it up and pay for the prescription. And J. Brown is, of course, June Brown, and he's shown in that inner circle. And there's another exhibit in evidence showing that June Brown, lived at the same address that's shown on the screen right now. The defendant's engineer, you have heard a little bit about them. You heard from Jeff Meeks as part of the defense case. Another one of the defendant's engineers. They didn't just set up the operation sound equipment in the recording studio. They too helped the defendant. They helped the defendant carry out all his surveillance efforts and to maintain some of the digital collateral. Another technique that you have heard and we'll talk about that the defendant used to control his victims. Now, June and I are going to, by the way, refer to the names that these individuals testified here at the trial. You, of course, have in evidence and have seen their true first and last names. But remember that Jane told you that the defendant told her that those engineers could access any iCloud account, could access the iCloud to find out who she's been speaking with. And she told you that in the transcript at 10:27, the engineer also helped the defendant dig up surveillance videos to help his digital collateral. And you'll recall a couple of days ago during Special Agent Chabot's testimony that we played that audio recording. It's in evidence as Government Exhibit 485. And on the recording, the defendant accused a young woman, well, call her Kayla for today. He accused a young woman of stealing a Rolex watch. And you heard, and we talked about some of these threats that the defendant made during that. But at the end of the recording, and we didn't play this for you, but that's in evidence. But at the end of the recording, you can hear the defendant's engineer joking about how they think they should have, the defendant should have strip searched Kayla. And again, showing that the engineer were around for this. And in the same recording, the defendant mentioned that the engineers had dug up the videotapes, the video surveillance that purportedly showed Kayla taking their Rolex watch. Now, in more recent years, the defendant also relied on the personal assistants to assure that his female guests and his live-in girlfriends complied with the defendant's many rules. You heard that from his female assistants, Diane Copeland, Cheryl Mack, and the Mayweather sisters, who all told you how they helped the defendant manage his female guests and his live-in girlfriends. They told you how they accompanied those women on public outings, and the defendants relied on his assistants to, make sure that they didn't leave. Now, no one is saying in this particular assistance that they were under lock and key, but you will recall Diana's Copeland's talked about a conversation that surprised her, where the defendant was upset with her for letting Anna escape and said to her that she should have let Lily handle it. And Lily is also shown up on this board.
Thank you, T-Bell. I'm going to go ahead and jump in. Thank you so much. The defendant also relied on his assistants. Okay. The defendant also relied on his assistants to make sure that his girlfriends didn't get off the bus. And you heard some testimony about that in this trial. And again, one of the Mayweathers talked about the time when Joy was let off the bus and the defendant was upset. Why would you let her off the bus? That's what he said. Similarly, he relied on his assistants to make sure that these individuals, these women, didn't get off his Sprinter van without receiving permission from him. Now, each of these individuals in his inner circle enabled the defendant in various ways, and without them at his service, the defendant could not have carried out the pattern of crime that he committed for almost 3 decades. Now, I want y'all to think about this real quick. It's making sense, because there's no way in hell that he can do his concerts and all that and control these girls at the same time. He had to have people in place to take that. So it still be very easy for people to see, wow, this thing is all connected. It's like a doggone octopus, a whole bunch of different arms. And in the middle is the brain, and that's him. That's crazy. So it says here, so you know that the purpose of the enterprise included legitimate things like promoting R. Kelly's music and his brand. But you also know that the enterprise led by the defendant had other purposes too. Those purposes, as mentioned earlier, included recruiting girls and women to engage in illegal sexual activity with the defendant to produce pornography, including child pornography. If y'all believe so far that the government is proving their case of this enterprise being in existence, I want you to put watermelons all through the chat. If y'all don't think they're proving their case, then put a thumbs down in the chat. If you are seeing what I'm seeing, and you believe that the government is proving their case that there is a enterprise, put watermelons in the chat. If you don't think so, put a thumbs down. Now, to be clear, This does not mean that all of the other enterprise members necessarily wanted any of these things to happen or were happy about it happening, but that's not what the law requires. And as you know, and heard through this trial, the network of people that the defendant had at his disposal, they carried out the defendant's directives. They didn't ask questions, and they effectively enforced the defendant's rule. They enabled his crimes, and those crimes occurred over and over and over again. Now, during the past several weeks, you've also learned about how the defendant led and participated in the enterprise for his criminal acts, and that is why we're here today, because of what the defendant did. He groomed the girls and boys. Y'all see that? Girls and boys for sexual activity, despite that they were too young to consent to any of that sexual activity. There's that word consent again. There's that word consent again. Here we go. And you heard from Angela, Addie, Stephanie, Lewis, Alex, Geronda, and Jane, each of who told you that the defendant initiated contact with them when they were under 18 years old. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 that were under 18. I ain't even including Aaliyah. And evidence of phone records showing telephone calls between the defendant and Alexis, Lewis, Alex, Geronda, and Jane, all when they were under 18 years old. And you can see on the board in a very small type are government exhibits 153 and 154. And 154 shows a summary of telephone calls between the defendant and Lewis. And these were calls between the defendant's number. And Lewis testified to you, and you saw in the other evidence as well that the defendant's number was back then. That was 630-220-1166 number. And then on the right, you also see a summary that the government's exhibit 153. You see a summary of telephone contact between the defendant and Alex. And that's an individual that other witness identified as nephew. And again, you see that contact when Alex within the first 2 months of 2007. And Alex was also just 17 years old. Again, just as he testified in court to you. And I'm going to talk in more detail later about government's exhibits 149 and 157. Those show telephone calls between the defendant and Geronda. Now that's an evidence exhibit 149. And then the government exhibit 157 shows a summary of calls between the defendant and Jane. And those calls shown in those two summary charts all show contact with Jane when she was just 17 years old, and telephone contact between Geronda when she was just 16 years old. They got phone records, y'all. And it says here that phone records in evidence also show contact between the defendant and Alexis when she was just 15 years old. And that's consistent with her testimony before you that she met the defendant at the concert in Jacksonville on March 26, 2006, and then went the following day to the Avenues Mall in Jacksonville. And in evidence are phone records showing communication between the phone number that Alexis identified as hers and the defendant's number then. The defendant also arranged for the girls and women to meet him for the purposes of sexual activity without telling them that he had his incurable sexually transmitted disease. And you heard from Kate, Geronda, Faith, and Jane, who each told you that the defendant exposed them to herpes during unprotected sexual intercourse and never told any of them about the fact that he had herpes. The defendant also produced child pornography. You heard Stephanie, Geronda, and Jane tell you that. He recorded each of them engaging in sexual explicit conduct when they were each under 18 years old. And you heard how the defendant used a plethora of tactics to keep total control over his employees, these individuals, and his victims. First, I want to talk about those letters. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the letters later on, but just briefly, recall that you heard from what you heard from Geronda and Jane. And remember, Geronda was the government's first witness. She was very, very pregnant. Now, when she came here to testify, and Jane started the following Monday, so both of them were much earlier in the trial. But remember that both Geronda and Jane told you that the defendant directed them to write letters containing false and embarrassing allegations, purportedly about their own conduct and the conduct of their families. And you saw several of those letters, and I am going to show you those letters later today, that they told you they wrote at the defendant's direction. And Jane told you that she wasn't the only one. That's the defendant's other girlfriends wrote the same letters as the defendant's direction. And you saw some of those letters as well. Tanya, you want to jump in right there? Line 14.
Yes, I'm here. Just one quick second. Sorry.
Okay.
Children.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Line 14.
Yeah, 14?
Huh?
14?
Yes.
And you heard the same thing from Lewis and nephew. Those were, I call him nephew here, but he also testified as Alex in this trial. And remember, Lewis and Alex were best friends before Lewis introduced Alex to the defendant. But both of them told you that they, too, wrote letters that were false at the defendant's direction. And you heard about how and where the defendant kept those letters, in a safe in a storage facility, ready for his retrieval should a day like this ever come. A day where he is charged with very serious crimes. And you even heard and saw, sorry.
Mm-hmm. You okay?
Yeah, I just going to cough. I'm trying not to.
Okay.
Okay, so, and, all right. And you even heard and saw how the defendant stored those letters. Not all of them, but some of them were stored in those plastic document protectors. Some of them had reinforced plastic around the holes of the loose leaf paper. And you know why he kept them at the ready and in pristine condition? He kept those letters that way because he intended to use the letters in the future. And they wouldn't serve any value, any purpose if their contents were no longer available. You can no longer see what was written on those letters.
So y'all, this is what we're gonna this what I want to know. This is what I want to know. Did the government prove that the enterprise existed, that they were active, that they aided, they abetted in R. Kelly's crimes?
I mean, I think absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. If you believe that the government proved their case, that there was bribery going on, that there was coercion and persuasion and all, I want you to please put one in the chat if you believe the government proved its case. If you don't, go ahead and put a 2 in the chat for me, please. And y'all, let's just talk about this for a minute. Let's just talk about this. There are a lot of people out there that say that there was not an enterprise, that they say that the enterprise was all made up. That couldn't be further from the truth.
And even how she described it, has how he had like his inner circle, but then he had his inner circle.
Exactly. And it
was like a double layered enterprise.
It's like a double layered enterprise, right? Mm-hmm. And by law, it didn't have to be an official name, right?
No.
Right.
It didn't have to be an official name. It didn't have to be them walking around with uniforms on with name tags and all that kind of stuff.
It didn't have to be like a planned out thing. Like it just kind of fell into place the way he needed it to be.
Everybody
As he grew, they grew.
Go ahead, T-Bear.
I was like, everybody knew what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
They
you.
all had their role. They all didn't step out of line.
He controlled everything.
They were what you would call a organized, unofficial enterprise.
Yes.
Period. And you can't get around it. Let me see what some people saying here in the chat. Does anyone in the chat want to say anything? Let me see here. Jazzy Cuteness said, if they did, the others need to be on trial too. I agree with you.
I agree too.
Chocolate 82467 said, that's the word I was looking for. They were enablers. Nobody did anything to stop him. You absolutely right. No, they didn't.
And I feel like I think the other ones are going to get charged. Well, we know already McDavid and June and what's his face? What's his name? Kalan Don.
Yeah, Kalan.
Yeah, they're all been charged. But I think it's going to come out more once he finally is sentenced, because then it's like a wrap. And then then they can go in and get them all. I think I remember hearing somebody talk about that in an interview.
Well, a few of them testified for the government, so they got immunity.
Right.
Indeed.
True.
Chocolate 82467 said the feds were not playing with him. They got everything. Everything.
I wonder, I just was thinking right now, I wonder if they haven't really arrested some of the people because they're going to, they probably have immunity for the Chicago trial. And we don't know about it yet. Because a lot of that is going to cross over in time period from this trial, but it was for different reasonings. You know what I mean? So they're probably a lot of the same players testifying.
Keller said his herpes got an enterprise.
He was spreading it around though.
Man, listen.
Nasty.
This is crazy. Let me see. Because he knew what he was doing was illegal. Keller said, I thought there was no enterprise, no existence of an enterprise. Man, listen, y'all. Let me see here. Let me see.
I think they associate that with the RICO also. Just happened to be the mob, but he functioned like a mob. He
Right.
had people in place to do his dirt, to cover up from him, to take charges for him. You remember that when they was in the hotel and the girl ran out and he left the two dudes there to take the charge while he slept out, So he did everything that a mob would do anyway to protect his own self.
Absolutely. And as I like what Chocolate said that's probably what his supporters are thinking the enterprise should be. Official with a legal name, etc. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So as we just learned by law, it don't have to be an official name, an official business and all that kind of stuff. It can be an association of individuals that are doing what they are directed to do, that is aiding and abetting and benefiting someone else. Period.
I look at it, his crime was what's that, statutory rape? I say human trafficking, because he was doing it across state lines, and then the porn, the tapes and stuff that he was doing. So that's criminal right there. It aligns with the mafia and the other people that gets RICO
to make money.
Charges.
Julie Huggins says, I don't think some people want to believe it, but damn, what else do they have to show? Good point. Said he had the money, so they followed him, right or wrong, period. Daughter of the Most High, that right there, that's the home run right there. It was all about the money.
Mm-hmm.
And they told you, they said, when they asked him, why didn't you say something? He said, it was about the money. What the bus driver say? He said he was paying me. I couldn't afford to lose that money. So I just went along with it. Right? You got some of the security guards killed. Well, the parents knew. Everybody knew. I wish I would have did more. with all the crying and all that kind of stuff. Like, right, that like all for $1. Where does your morals come in? Where does integrity come in? Right? Why didn't somebody bust him in his damn mouth and say, what the hell are you doing sleeping with these damn babies? Are you freaking crazy?
Right.
You know what I mean? We should have heard stories about that. Now, they talk a lot of junk about Don Russell, but they say Don Russell would stand up to him and say, man, are you get that little young ass girl up out of here? Even though they say Jasmine was of age, but they did say that he would try to tell him, man, stop. What are you doing? Like, what? Stop. You know what I mean? They didn't like that. They didn't like that.
You hear the stories of them, all the stars or whatever, going into his recording studios, and these people are turning their heads and looking down, and the girls are standing against the walls with their face. They couldn't look at each other. Mm-hmm. It would make you think, okay, what's going on right here?
What's going on up in here? Yeah, I wouldn't even feel comfortable being there. Like, man, what you got going on up in here?
But they said he had everybody signing the NDAs, so everybody that came into the studio had to sign a non-disclosure agreement that they wouldn't say nothing about what was going on in his studio. That's crazy.
Karen J said, was there any updates on any other guys that received charges? I think last I heard was that Michael Williams was sentenced to, like, I believe it's 95 months, I believe. And, he has to pay some money, but he don't have to pay interest on that money or something like that. That's the last I heard. I'm going to have to get that and read exactly what it is. Julie Huggins said, after hearing those text messages, some parents could be part of the enterprise. Julie Huggins, hey, we're going to see. Kenny tapped.
Can't put it past him.
Let me see. West Coast Bells said, even the fools that were there just to get his rebounds were part of it. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I think the employees told everything to save themselves. Daddy's Girl, 1973. Good point. Good point. Good point. Chocolate said many times, integrity and money don't play well together. No, they don't. I got to agree with you. Black Diamond said, please hit that like, share, subscribe, and notification bells all. Thank you, y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much. West Coast said the employees probably got immunity for their testimonies.
Some of them did.
Some of them did. Yep, we all know. We all know.
But I think they should have made them tell more because what's her name? Cheryl. She was skeptical about what she was saying.
Yeah.
She was tap dancing around her answers,
You're absolutely right. She was. Let me see. Miss Shirley said, while his supporters say one man is not an enterprise, they are correct. One man started the enterprise.
All right, Shirley. That's
wow. That makes sense. That makes sense right there. Yes, so, yes, you know what? We got to say, we will give that to him. One man ain't no enterprise. But he sure as hell knew how to create one.
That's for sure.
Okay?
She hit the nail on the head, Shirley.
She did. Shirley knocked it out the park. So one man ain't no enterprise, but he sure know how to create one. Well, y'all listen. I appreciate y'all coming over here. I believe Diva's doing something over on her page. So y'all, let's support her and go over there and check her out, see what she's doing. But listen, I love y'all. If y'all want to be a blessing to this channel, please, hit the Cash App down below, $ this blessed house. I do appreciate that. Y'all, please wish Robert Keller a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Robert Keller.
Happy birthday, Keller.
If you want to be a blessing to Keller for all of the hard work and dedication that he does for this channel, I want to put his Cash App in here. Like I said, he's 55 today, y'all. So, if anybody wants to be a blessing to the old man, make sure you do that.
Is he 55?
No, he ain't no damn 55.
I didn't think so.
His Cash App, let me put it up in here. It is $ Robert Keller. And if you send him anything, put in there, happy birthday, Keller, 83. So I guess he was born in 83. So I think he's 39. All right, so that's Robert Keller.
But he's got a voice like 25.
I know, right? Mm-hmm. That's Robert Keller Cash App. Y'all want to be a blessing to Robert Keller. I want to hold on. Let me see. I got some more comments in here. Let's read them. Karen J said, per the law, one man can be an enterprise. That's on that indictment. Yeah. We know that one man can be an enterprise. We're kind of poking fun at it.
One man
West Coast
started,
Bell, huh?
I was just saying, one man started the enterprise.
One man started one.
He had some of the enterprise leave him too.
Indeed. West Coast Bell said Demetrius was acting funny too.
Yes.
And that voice Atmos made it worse. I think the EDNY limited what was shared so that they can tell it all in Chicago. Man, listen, y'all, they better hope they better hope Chicago don't happen. That's all I'm gonna say. They better do whatever they got. They better plead. Bonjean, apparently she just filed a motion to it was Jason Meisner said on Twitter that they're possibly trying to do something to where they wait to after his Chicago trial and try to postpone fourth sentencing. Yeah. So I don't know how successful that's gonna be, but I don't think
so. I hope they don't do that.
Yeah, I know. I want to see everything.
Because they probably try to run everything together.
Yeah.
And
give him
trying to get him less time. Mm-hmm.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah, let's just get him sentenced and move on to Chicago.
There
Let's finish up New York while we're here.
There you go.
I think Chicago gonna give him life.
Yeah.
Hey man, listen. He at the end of the day, he put himself in that situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Bonjean's just trying to give him hope.
Of course.
But I think it's false hope.
That's her job, though.
Yeah.
It is her job. Ladies, y'all were amazing. Tanya, T-Band 1, thank y'all for coming on helping me get through this.
Always.
This just was a live that I wanted to just show people that that they proved their case, y'all. They proved their case. Y'all should have enough information now to be able to go back on and see that y'all can go in and see for yourselves. Okay.
Absolutely.
But y'all listen, y'all have a blessed day. Thank y'all for coming over here. And
thank you, Atmos.
No problem.
You're the best.
Atmos, I did it.
You did it. Yes, you did.
I came up again.
Huh?
I said I came on again. I did it.
I appreciate you so much.
We love you, T-Bam. You need to be with us.
Exactly.
You're part of our team.
I came up on the panel, but yeah. I had time today.
Y'all are awesome. I appreciate y'all, okay?
All right.
Thank you, Atmos. Take care. Have a good night, everyone. Bye, TBM.
Bye. Right. Bye, everyone.
Peace.
Oh, no.
I don't need negative energy. Wrap me in positive synergy. I have been doubted through life. Been there and done it with trifling people who told me my style would not work. I told them they wrong. Been struggling too long. This song is for you. I'm proving you wrong.
Get out my way. Get out my way. Get out my way.
Get out my way.
I'm a genuine person. Like if I love you, I love you. If I don't mess with you, I don't mess with you. It's as simple as that.